So, let's track my brain trying to get back to the Hebrew. um, Pull this up here. All right, for this week, we are finishing up on the alphabet. So, our final letters here, we have Sadi, and when it's a final form, this is one that drops its tail when it's at the end of a word. And so we have Tzadi, Tzadi Sofit, and then Kuf and Resh.
Is there a rule on that, Cameron? Or
Um,
you just have to remember which ones drop? Or is there like a rule why this one drops?
So there's 5 different letters that have
Right.
a final form. And so you just got to memorize those 5.
That's
When they're at the end of the word, they always drop their tail. There's no exceptions.
right. That's what I was wondering. Like, is there a rule on which ones? Like, why are those the ones that drop their tail? Or do you just have to memorize it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on why those ones drop their tail and why not all consonants drop their tail at the end.
Right.
I have yet to come across anything that really delineates those out.
Okay. That's
See.
what I was asking.
Yeah. All right.
Not that I would remember a rule.
Yep. Yeah, the less rules we got to memorize, the better.
Oh man, I know. I'm struggling, you guys, because I've been gone so much. And I have watched all of them. I
Mhm.
just haven't done the homework, so I'm not reading as well as you guys are.
Yep. Well, yeah, all of these lessons in the alphabet is just to kind of give us a little bit of a legs up when we get to the Aleph with Beth series. So we're going to be kind of starting all over again. You won't, because lesson 10 and 7 and I think 12 also go through the alphabet in a new way and stuff. So you'll be able to kind of catch up at that point as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so taking a look from the blue book, they have Tzadi with, I don't know, this is kind of a stretch, but a guy holding up a pizza because it kind of makes that sound a little bit. So it's kind of like 2 Z's in the word pizza, but it is a combination of T and S, and we don't really use that a lot in our English dictionary very much. And so it's kind of a hard one to really put phonetically here on a page. So if you're thinking about like percussion with the drums, it's kind of that hi-hat hit that we typically say. Or if you want to do it as kind of 2 Z's in pizza, has that kind of weird sound. And then the look at the letter resh. So resh is like a rainbow, and it makes the sound of the letter R. So it is technically considered a guttural. It's coming from the back of the throat. So it can be a hard R, but if anyone knows Spanish or any other language, you know that the R's vary wildly from language to language. And so resh is coming from the back of the throat. It's that guttural sound. Kind of like when we learned the gimel versus chimel. It kind of follows that same tongue pattern at the back of the throat as the chimel, resh. Yeah, you're kind of pushing the air out, but trying to close it off and stop it. Again, one of the hardest letters to to pronounce totally properly. But once you've got it mastered, people will think you speak Hebrew like a native. And then
Oh, I doubt that.
yep. Yeah, as soon as
I
I was
don't
able
think,
to
I don't
roll
think,
my R's.
yeah, I don't think I'm going to be fooling anyone.
Yeah, and then the last one is the letter kuf. So it looks kind of like our English P, but here they've got it as a key, and that key makes the k sound. Likewise with the hof and kaf, the kaf with a dagesh makes that same sound. It's our English letter K equivalent. So tsari, kuf, resh. So if you happen to roll your R's, because I know that that's a really easy one for those that have like a Spanish background, the resh is often, especially in a modern context, somewhat interchangeable. Sometimes it can just be a double R, or it can be the guttural in the back of the throat. So yeah, there's different nuances to it. But so since we're talking about Dagesh, let's learn another rule about it. So we've got all of these dots all over the place, right? We've learned that the vowels typically are located beneath the consonants. Once they're in the middle and a couple times they're up above the consonants, but typically they hang out below. The Dagesh, however, are always in the middle. They're always that middle beauty mark. But there's different kinds of Dagesh, and they all look the same. They're just a dot in the middle of the consonant. So we have what's called a Dagesh Kal and a Dagesh Chazak. The Dagesh Kal, Kal means weak or lesser. Chazak means strong or what's the word I'm looking for? Strong or like bold would be another kind of equivalent. So Dagesh Kal is the modifier function. It changes the sound of the consonant that it is accompanying. The Dagesh Chazak is a doubling function. And we'll take a look and kind of break these apart. They're also, if we're speaking purely to English speakers, sometimes we default to the Latin, so Dagesh Lene or Dagesh Forte. But if we're just focused on the Hebrew, Dagesh Kal and Chazak, that's the only ones I'm worried about really memorizing. But you may see in some YouTube videos Lene and Forte, but just know that weak and strong. So here's our alphabet in its fullness. I mean, without Dagesh. And here it is with Dagesh. So these are all of the ones that can receive that beauty mark. You'll notice that these 5 here do not have a Dagesh. They don't receive a beauty mark. These are the gutturals, or even the silent letters. We have Aleph, silent. It's not going to be changing sound or receiving a double portion. We have the He, Het, Ayin, and Resh. These ones you'll never see with a Dagesh, with the exception in the upper right-hand corner there of the He. If it's at the end of the word, it can have a Dagesh because of the furtive Patach and the Mapik. But those require their own separate lessons because those are a lot more advanced than what we're at right now. So we're just going to skip kind of those exceptions, but know that He sometimes can have that Dagesh or beauty mark there.
So it gets the Dagesh at the end of the sentence instead of having the Sofit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so here are the Beged Kefets, which we already learned. We learned those a few weeks back. There are 6 Hebrew consonants that receive the Dagesh Kal, and those are Beged Kefets: Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Pei, and Tav. And I've got those highlighted there. So let's take a look at our original chart that we showed a few weeks back. So anytime that you have the Dagesh, this is a Dagesh Kal, and it is a modifier which changes the way that the consonant actually sounds. So when a bet has a ball or a Dagesh there, it is the hard plosive sound. B versus V. B, V. G, G. D, Z. K, Ch. P, F, T, Th. So Dagesh Kal is a modifier, changing the actual sound that the consonant makes. But we have the Dagesh Chazak, which appears on other consonants besides those ones. And so highlighted here are all of the other consonants that you might be able to see a Dagesh with. And so these ones are a doubling. So for example, in our English word dinner, it has a 2 N in the 2 N's in the middle of the word, right? The same thing with a Dagesh Chazak. So instead of writing 2 noons side by side in that word, if we're transliterating, Instead of doing that, we just put one and put a dagesh in it and know that it's a double consonant. And so all of these ones are always going to be that dagesh hazak. We know that it's doubled.
Okay, can I just clarify?
Mhm.
They all look the same. So you just have to memorize if the dagesh is going to make it soft or if it's going to make it loud. Is that correct?
If it's going to change the way that it sounds, or if it actually doubles it. And so it's
So
not
how do
necessarily
you
that.
know? Is it just in context or? I'm
Yes,
kind of
so
confused.
memorizing the beged kefets, those 6 letters, and that they
Uh-huh.
can change their sound, and then pretty much just memorizing the beged kefets and knowing that everything else is a hazak.
Oh, okay. So the ones you just showed us are the call?
Yes, so the beged kefets, these are all the calls. And so,
And then everything else is just like a doubled letter. Okay, I'm fine now. I got it.
yep. So, for example, taking what you just said, but adding one extra rule onto it.
Oh, taking
So,
what you said and now I'm gonna make it all murky.
yes. So, with the beged kefets, there is a little bit of nuance to it. So, here, when we have a consonant of the beged kefets that follows another consonant or a shava, it's going to be the call. But if it does follow a vowel, it's going to be a doubling hazak. So let's take a look at this bet here versus this one over here. So this bet is following a consonant in the word before it. So this bet is going to be a call because it's following a consonant or a shava. So this bet is just going to change the way that it sounds. So this one's going to be b, and it's not going to double it. So here we have, let's see, I should have really memorized this one so I didn't look dumb on the spot. But so let's sound this out. So we've got v, a, va, y, vaya, he, vayahi, be, may, vayahi, bime, vayahi, bime. That b just changes its sound, it doesn't double. But over here, we see that this bet does follow a vowel, and so it's going to be a doubling hazak. It does change its sound like all of the beged kefets do. This is not a vet. This is the b sound, but it's doubled. So mib bait, mi bait. It has a double B. If we were transliterating this out into English, we would put 2 B's side by side because this one follows a vowel. So hopefully that's clear as mud. Beged kefets, we were just memorizing that these 6 letters are going to be the dagesh call unless they're following a vowel. Then they're gonna maintain their proper sound, but they're gonna double as well into a hazak, dagesh hazak. So with this week's homework, there's not a worksheet or anything, but there's this video, which I'll put in the chat and make sure it's on Learning Zion, and I'll email it out as well. But this video is the only homework this week, and it's a video on the dagesh and getting more practice. Like, watch it as many times as you need to get this principle down, because I'm not the best teacher at it, and this presenter does amazing. About taking a look at it, gives you lots of exercises, gives you a quiz at the end and everything. So this is the only homework for this week, is just learning that dagesh and memorizing the beged kefets and when a dagesh is going to be a call versus a hazak. So yeah, let's take a look at our numerals. This is a review from 2 weeks ago, where we looked at cardinal numbers versus ordinal numbers. A cardinal number is 1, 2, 3. versus ordinal, when we start comparing and needing to put things in an order, that's when our numbers change from first or 1, 2, 3 to first, second, and third. In Hebrew, we use the ordinals through the number 10. So we have like 9th and 10th, but after 10th, we go back to the cardinals. There isn't a 11th or a 12th or 13th like we do in English. The ordinals are just 1 through 10, and then it goes back to the cardinal to describe.
So then is it like 10 and 3 or 3 and 10, or is it just, do you know what I'm saying? So how do you go
Yeah,
past,
so there's a few different ways that will
or am I jumping ahead?
yeah, because I mean, there's going to be a video that really goes into all of those and everything. But for now, since we're only going to be memorizing the cardinal, I probably wouldn't worry about that just yet.
Okay.
Just knowing that there's the difference between cardinal and ordinal.
Okay.
So the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are used to represent numbers in ancient traditional context. This is the same that we reviewed a couple weeks back. So in modern situations, the Hebrew-speaking world has adopted the Arabic numeral system that we use today, as 1, 2, and 3 kind of thing. But anciently, they didn't have those numbers, and they use their alphabet to count, and they still use it in things such as calendars and such. And then I just described this cardinal and ordinal thing here, but knowing that all the numbers, whether they be cardinal or ordinal, they must agree in gender with the noun that they're describing. So a review from last week, that when we're counting, we're not necessarily associating it with any gender, so it defaults to the masculine, except for the number 2. We can pop over here to the feminine for that one. So counting 1 to 5, echad, shtaim, shalosh, arba, chamesh. Echad, shtaim, shalosh, arba, chamesh. And then learning our 5 new numbers. We're going to go 6 through 10. We have shesh, sheva, shmone, tesha, and eser. So the one that really kind of throws us off right away is sheva, right? Because earlier when we were talking about our shavas, right? This one is the emphasis is in the middle of the shava versus this one with the emphasis at the end of the word, sheva. So they can often be kind of confused versus a sheva versus shava. So counting from 1 to 10, achad, shtaim, shalosh, arba, chamesh, shesh, sheva, shmone, tesha, eser. And so, yeah, just getting lots of practice. Every time that you're needing to count on your fingers, do it in Hebrew instead of English and get those down. It's been fun kind of learning those and being able to count in them. I remember the first time when I was learning Spanish, first time I could count to 10 was a major accomplishment for me. I'd never learned that before, and kind of switching over something in your brain to be able to do it fluently and fluidly, I think is kind of a major milestone. But we'll start seeing these as they pop up in the Aleph with Beth videos, being able to count and kind of get our bearings 1 through 10. It's going to be a crucial skill. So any questions on any of that? So Beged Kefetz, the Dagesh, or the numerals, anything like that. If not, that's totally fine. You guys get it a lot very quickly. You can see my brain's already starting to transition, and English isn't my first language anymore. But yeah, I was gonna show. So in iTunes, I've got these 2 books here. I'm trying to get us immersed in lots of different Hebrew things. So these are kind of, I was asking some Hebrew speakers, and they said these are the books. So anytime that you're learning like nursery rhymes and little level songs, these are the books that everybody knows. It's kind of like those encyclopedias that they used to sell door to door. They used to sell these door to door for the Hebrew community. So anyway, on here in iTunes, I found them for free. Let me screen share that really quick. I'm sure there are other places as well, but I'm just sharing iTunes. So the collection is called Shirim Rishonim. Shirim Rishonim. And let me find this one. I'm going to play this song and see if you can identify any of the numbers that we just learned.
מאחורי ההר, 1, 2, 3, שם ישבו 3 גמדים, 1, 2, 3, לא אכלו ולא שתו, 1, 2, 3, רק ישבו ופטפטו, 1, 2, 3.
The song kind of gets crazy after that. It's talking about these little gnomes that live behind a hill and then they get drunk, and anyway, it's kind of a weird one. But anyway, if you were able to recognize.
I'm impressed you understood all that.
I heard 1, 2, 3.
Yep. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Shalosh.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, the power of music and being able to kind of sing and stuff. Like anytime that you're needing to count, I default back to this song all the time. So anyway, I'm trying to find more songs that the majority of the ones that I find online, like on YouTube or anything like that, are sung by little kids, and they're not pronouncing very well. You know, they're kind of slurred, or, you know, their little high-pitched voices and stuff. So I don't know, I might just have to like record my dumb voice singing them or something. But anyway, I'm still on the lookout for like 1 through 10. But anyway, it was interesting to kind of see here just a little song that, oh, I didn't know what the whole thing was saying, but I recognized Achat Shtein Shalosh. And so
And no,
yep. And so I looked it up on YouTube, and there's this cute little thing with gnomes or whatever. And so I pulled it into Google Translate, and then oh, this is gnomes. Okay, sweet. So let me share another one with you from that thing here. Just a second. All right, Shirim Rishonim. One thing I love about this particular one is that they have it transliterated into English here. So like, let me scroll down here. All of these ones are in Hebrew, and I'm like, oh, I'm not that advanced yet. I don't know what those are without their vowels and stuff. And so that's a different album. Up here, this one is transliterated, and it makes it so much easier. So let's see if you recognize this song.
לדוד משה הייתה חווה, איה איה ובחווה הייתה פרה, איה איה והפרה מומוי כל היום מומו, לדוד משה הייתה חווה, איה איה.
So I found that so interesting as I was going through these songs. The very first video of Aleph with Beth, which we'll be doing next week, is taking the most common words in Hebrew in the Bible and learning the most frequent ones first, kind of doing them in an order. And so we learn man and woman and cow and sheep and goat, because they're mentioned frequently in all the Bible stories. So I had learned those, and then I would come across this one, and I'm like, oh, very interesting, because trying to pick out those words. And then I think it's always fun learning how all of the different languages have different animal sounds, right? Mm-hmm. Like the rabbit in Ladod Moshe is interesting. I didn't know a rabbit made that kind of a sound. But
no, a rabbit made a sound.
Anyway, I think it'll be fun. So that's what I'm on the hunt for right now. Is I'm translating these books so that I can kind of be implementing them in our journey and stuff. So, because I think that there's a great power in like music and in immersion. If they're teaching them to their kids. I think us as kids in the Hebrew language can benefit from some of these like nursery rhymes and little kid songs to kind of memorize these things. Maybe there is a full-on counting song in here and I just haven't found it yet. But anyway, so if you ever find anything, send it my way and I'll take a look and see if we can implement it. But next week, we're going to be diving into our Aleph with Beth. So let me show you how to find it. This isn't required until next week. We're going to do this fully, but if you want to get a jump start on it, you're more than welcome to. I swear, I don't look at some of these things half the time on my homepage of YouTube. It's just some weird things, but I've never even heard of Curb Your Enthusiasm before.
That's because you're so enthusiastic. You're getting those up
Yeah.
there.
Exactly.
The
But
suggestions.
here's my Remember Sunday because of our watch party and stuff. But
Mhm.
like some of them, I don't even know where they come from. Anyway, so YouTube search Aleph with Beth. And then you can click on their channel here. And the easiest place to start off with is going to their playlists and choosing the biblical lessons 1 through 50 in order. So when you, sorry, that was loud. So it'll just play lesson 1 here. And this is a full immersion thing, right? This is going to be really daunting right off the bat. As you get thrown into it, it's kind of like the MTC experience of full immersion, where they just cut off English and you're fully immersed in the new language. So expect to be a little overwhelmed at the beginning, but we are going to take it slow. We're going to make sure that we're at the pace of everyone in the group. And at the end of each class time, as we learn and review the material, I'll ask like, okay, do we want to spend another week on that? Or do we want to move on? How are we feeling with stuff? But I kind of expect that we'll take 2 weeks on each lesson, but if we go faster, great. If we need to go slower, that's fine too. I'm going to be trying to search some of these children's songs, finding some extracurricular stories that use the vocab from week to week, and kind of incorporate those in so that we can get some good experience with them. But anyway, that's how to access those videos. If you'd like to go and watch video 1, get some practice with it. But if not, that's totally fine. That's what we'll do next week in our group session. So yeah, next week we have not Anthony Larson, but Adrian Larson coming on for our guest speaker.
I really would like Anthony Larson, if the truth be known. Nothing against Adrian, but I think Anthony Larson would be really fun.
Yeah, exactly. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get him back.
Darn it.
But yeah, it'll be fun to have Adrian back. He's super excited to come back and visit us again. And then make sure to reserve April 6th for our Passover. And what else? There was one other thing. Oh, if you're interested in the Wasatch area, coming up, B'nai Shalom and the Day in Ancient Israel. My mom and I are going to be going to both for the first time. We'll see how we fare on that. But yeah, any other questions, comments, or anything Hebrew or otherwise?
I have some otherwise, but I don't want to talk about it on camera,
Yeah, you're good.
on recording.
But yeah, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and stop the recording.